Now let us look into the types of immunity, and there are two types, namely the active immunity and the passive immunity. Active immunity means the lymphocytes, that means the white blood cells, is going to produce their own antibodies, whereas passive immunity means the body is receiving antibodies from outside. So can you differentiate active and passive? So both of these types of immunities can be naturally or artificially acquired. All right, so these are, maybe we can skip this. All right, so this is an overall picture to show the types of immunity. We have natural active immunity, artificial active immunity, natural passive immunity, and artificial passive immunity. All right, these slides you can read on your own. Okay, through the slides that teacher has provided for you. Now let's look into immunity, active and passive. So as I've shown you just now the overall picture, so we have natural active immunity, which is acquired after an individual recovers from an infection. So that means active here, the body, the lymphocytes, is going to produce its own antibodies. So by the first means, which is natural, that is through infection. So that means if an individual has got an infectious disease, his or her body will react to produce antibodies to fight the infection, and that is why we call it natural. How about artificial? Artificial means the individual is not infected naturally, but that he or she is being injected with a vaccine. Alright, so in other words, this vaccine consists of the weakened pathogens injected in the body of the individual. Then these individuals, his body, the lymphocytes will produce antibodies to fight the weakened pathogen, which is the vaccine itself. Okay, how about passive? Passive means the body is not producing its own antibodies, but it is receiving it from external sources. Okay, for example, natural passive immunity. We are saying that the fetus is acquiring these antibodies from the mother. Okay, and that is through breastfeeding, also during the pregnancy state. Okay, another one is artificial passive immunity. It is because it is acquired through an anti-serum injection. Okay, what is that? We're going to look into that later on. Okay, under active immunity, now this is the one, natural active immunity. Okay, natural active immunity. So you look at the keywords. Antibodies are produced naturally by lymphocytes, and active immunity remains for a long period of time. Now, this is natural active immunity where the individual has got some infectious diseases and the body himself is going to react to fight the pathogen. Whereas in artificial active immunity, okay, it is through immunization, and that is through injection of vaccine. So vaccine consists of pathogens that are weakened, that are dead or non-virulent. Okay, so that means they are non-harmful and they are injected into the body to stimulate the production of antibodies by the lymphocytes. Okay, so this is natural active immunity. So you look at the keywords over here, there is these memory cells. Okay, so most important, you get the concept well. Okay, it says here remains for a long period of time. Memory cells will rapidly produce antibodies to react immediately against the antigens. Now, how about this artificial immunity? Oh, okay, this one I've mentioned just now. It's under this artificial active immunity. And once I zoom in over here, this is what you can see. You can look at examples of vaccines. All right. So I've covered this part. Now let's look at passive immunity. So in passive immunity, the body does not produce its own antibodies. So it is from outside, external sources. So passive immunity does not persist. So this is different from active immunity just now, which will last for long period of time. And passive immunity can only give immediate, short-term, and temporary protection. Okay, so it is this natural passive immunity where the baby is obtaining the antibodies from the milk of the mother. Okay, and that is called the colostrums. Colostrums, the mother's antibody through breastfeeding. Another one is through the placenta, and that is during the pregnancy stage. Okay, this is through injection of antiserum, which I've mentioned just now. Okay, that contains specific antigens, antibodies to fight specific antigens. So it is given immediately after this incident, for example, being attacked by poisonous snakes. Okay, so this antiserum is given immediately. It is obtained from the serum of the animals, and it is injected into the individual for protection. All right, now this is it. Okay, all right, now this is the one. Okay, now let's look at the comparison. This is very important. So whenever we say comparison, let's look at the similarities. Protects the body from infectious diseases and involves interaction between antibodies and antigens. All right, artificial active immunity and artificial passive immunity. So you get to see this immunity period. It lasts for a long period of time, unlike artificial passive immunity, which is temporary and does not persist. Okay, so that's why it is very important. Okay, maybe you can relate this to our daily life. It's like active learning and also passive learning. If it is active learning, that means you yourself is the one doing the learning. So in this case, our body itself is going to produce the antibody. So therefore, it will last long. So if you're doing active learning, you will remember better. Okay, the memories will last long in you. But if it is passive learning or passive immunity, look at this, it is temporary. So passive learning is like spoon feeding. Okay, everything is given and then just one side is going to take. So you see, it doesn't last long. You won't remember much the fact which you have learned as compared to active learning. Okay, now this is the need to give a second injection, or we call it a booster dose. Okay, must be given to boost the level of the antibodies above the level of immunity as a protection against the disease. So you see, this is the first injection and you have the second injection. So this is the antibody level. Okay, and it is needed to boost up. The immunity level refers to the concentration of the antibodies that is sufficient to fight the disease. So if it is just the first dose, it is not enough to boost up the level of antibodies to fight against the pathogen. Okay, so it is only given for this artificial passive immunity. It is only given when the antibody level in the blood drops, okay, below the level of the immunity, and that the patient is still being in a state of danger by the disease. So you see this first injection, it goes up, strikes up here immediately, but then it goes down also very fast, and this second injection is needed. Okay, because the antibody in the level drops below the level of immunity. Now